Previously on BYL.
Self-esteem generally is an individual's subjective evaluation of yourself.
GSS 1, I go to boarding school. I started seeing how some of my mates were muscular or tall or had, this beards growing and all that. So that's why I started getting worried because I wasn't muscular.
In this episode, we've brought in adults to share their experiences as teenagers with you. The idea is for you to know that you're not alone on this teenage journey and that others have walked this path before you. Tighten your seatbelts, as you might hear your story.
I'm the last of 6 children. I grew up in a family, 6 children, 3 boys, 3 girls. We were what I can say a middle-class family-ish at the time. I mean, things were good. I mean, we're the kind of family that would finish church on a Sunday and go to a papa club. That was like the standard modus operandi for like the first 10 years of my life. My father had a good job. He was working with a multinational, a beverage company here in Lagos, Nigeria. So yeah, I grew up was pretty much an amazing life from the age of 1 to 10. And then something happened at the age of 10 that sort of changed the lifestyle of life like I knew it, and that just started an different type of upbringing than what I was used to in the first 10 years of my life. My dad lost his job at the time, the very good job that he had, and things changed, many things changed. I mean, first things first, we moved from where we had been living, which was a neighborhood that I was born in, which was somewhere off Allen. I'm an Ikeja Allen child. I went to Chrisland, Okwebi. That was my whole life. And they had built a house which was somewhere in the hinterland of the hinterland, after Agege. So when you go from Allen to Agege, it can be quite a change. Then there was the job loss as well. So life, the quality or the standard of life itself also changed. And you then started hearing things like, oh, we don't have money for this, and we don't have money for that. And at the age of 10, 11, 12, it can be quite an interesting, I don't understand. What is the money you don't have? You are supposed to, provide this and that. So it was quite an interesting change. And I think at the time as well, I always say that I was meant to go to what I believe, I was meant to go to Queen's College at the time. My mother told me I was going to Queen's College and all of that. Somehow that didn't work out. And then I was sent to a school in Oyo State as a boarding child. It was quite a lot to swallow. Remember I said I was the last of 6. I have older ones. The firstborn in my house, maybe like 14 years older than me. So I was a last born, if you get what I mean by a last born. So everything was just jarring. All of a sudden, I'm in a secondary school where I'm carrying 50 liters keg on my head, fetching water. I'm like, I don't understand it. How did I get here? There were just too many things to get used to, and life evolved in a different way of sorts, yes.
Knowing that I am in my genotype, I'm actually SS. Like I say, the doctors say I'm SS. Well, I really don't like calling myself that because of the way people view people living with sickle cell disorder. For them, they think the person is going to die in a few days, months, years. And but growing up with my dad and my mom actually helped me a lot. So growing up, my dad will always teach you the word actually, and he made me learn how to depend on the word of God to survive whatever pain crisis I had to go through. But then, a girl child, first child, who's going to clean the house? Mommy will say, all right, sweep the floor. We'll sweep today. Oh my God. Sometimes you sweep and as you're bending to sweep, you begin to have crisis, waist pain, you stop your sweeping. And that was the era where I wasn't really being taken to the hospital. I was being treated in the house. So I would be on the bed 2 weeks crying in pains, taking hot cup of tea, paracetamol, Felvin. In short, you can imagine what kind of torture that would be. Felvin can't hold menstrual pain, so I don't know how it wants to hold bone pain.
Growing up was good. Actually, the first 10 years was very good. We were like living in London. That's the way we lived in my house. Everywhere was good. Like I usually read books. We have schedules for books, meals, and stuff like that. For the first 10 years, I had everything I wanted. Yeah, I was happy when I was very young. At least in the period of 0 to 10. Yeah. I think those are the only memories I usually cherish the most. Because I used to remember when, okay, we don't really go out for stuff like that, but everything was okay in the house. Yeah, everything changed. My pops was the kind of person who was not supposed to be a married man. He's among those set of men that are supposed to stay single and do whatever they want to do. So it started with him. He changed everything in the house. He was not faithful, and then my mom was very sick. Until now, she's still very sick. So that's what changed. So easy. Like from 11 upwards, they were having marital problems that were affecting us as the children here. And the only reason I went to school, I think it started before 10 or 11, but I did not have an impact on me then. The only reason when it started, I went to school was because of my friends. I was just going to school to have fun because when I get back home, it was not the 0 to 10 years I used to live again. I was just there.
Most times, teenagers experience various challenges biologically, psychologically, emotionally, and socially. They are under pressure to fit into a certain mold designed by the society or their peers. A mold that may contradict their beliefs or values, but their state of mind is usually one trying to get a grip of the changes going on in their body and emotions. The desire to belong, to be accepted, and acknowledged by their peers have forced many young people to make some bad decisions.
My teenage years were, I had a mixed feeling, you know. Growing up, there were times that I had good times, there were times I had bad times. If I should quantify it, I think that the bad times seem to be more than the good times in the sense that maybe my family background contributed so much to how I felt as a teenager. Maybe let me just give you a hint of my family background. I came from a family we are still in the family as in 3 daughters, and my parents were divorced. So that divorce had a very negative impact in my life growing up. You know, there were times we would be in school. I was in primary school then, and that was, I think primary 4 or something. And people would be telling stories about their father, how they, tell family stories. And I realized I don't have any because I was living with my mom, and it was a bad experience for me. My parents, even my mom didn't know I had, this, I felt less of myself. When I'm in the midst of my friends, I don't talk because they had stories even the kind of things they do in the family. I don't have a family like that. We are scattered. I was living with my mom. My dad had married another wife. My sister was living with somebody else. The other was, 3 of us were scattered. So we didn't have that family. That thing alone had a very negative effect on me. So growing up, I had a lot of reservations. I had a lot of challenges, especially because of my family background.
I went to a Botti primary school, so let's start with that. So I always wanted to go to the secondary school of the primary school to continue with staying with the Botti people, do you get? Because I'm a little girl from Agege. So it had this, but then no, my parents were like, oh, we can't afford it, you have to go to a different one. So it was like I was going back to hood type of thing, but then it wasn't really like that, but that's how I felt. My esteem, everything was just way, I was so enclosed.
My teenage years was very eventful. Um, I'm just trying to think of various incidents that actually was an eventful one. I enjoyed it, even though there were some parts that may not beat so well. Of course, what we can call peer pressure today. I experienced a bit of it. But all the same, it was eventful. I can cite maybe just one or two examples. I know that I had growing up. I think this one. Let me backtrack to the pre-teen age, even before the teen age. I had this issue with people talking down on me. You know, probably because of something about you, either your plumpy or your face, the hair. I don't just know what it was in particular. But for me, I felt probably because I looked a bit more chubby than some of them, and they just may crack some sort of joke that I consider personally as very, very unhealthy. And that got to me. At the point, I became very withdrawn. I love to stay by myself. I love to play by myself. I love to talk to myself a lot. Until a defining moment, there was a day that was actually like the defining day. I got to speak with someone, a teacher, good enough. She was a teacher also, who told me, no. When he saw what happened, witnessed an incident, and he said, no, Joy, no, don't react like this anymore. Anytime someone taunts you, make fun of you, you must build resilience. You must find a way of either fighting back. That he gave me an example of two approaches that I could use. That you can either ignore, or you also look for something in the other person that you can also make fun of, crack, joke with. That's either of it. So for me, most of the time, I used to use the technique of ignoring whatever it is that you're telling me. And I also ensure that he doesn't show any longer. I don't show it, but I know that once I show that I'm pained, that what you said is has affected me in any way, I've given you the power, the edge to continue to do, you are damaging my self-esteem. I think that helped a great deal. By the time I became a teenager, I didn't forget that principle. It really helped. But I still found myself most of the time, still, probably because I have built that over the years, still say, yeah, I enjoy the company of people, but I still love to stay on my own, talk and all that, talk to myself. I do a lot of self-talk. I think that went a lot way, and coupled with the background, the foundation that my parents also gave me. Yeah, we had that good Christian background, and so that helped a lot. It helped a lot.
Generally, growing up was interesting, and at the same time, I'll say adventurous. I'm the fifth of 6 children, so I would say I came at about when there was recession in my family. They had used all the money to raise the older kids, and also because I came immediately after the twins, so there's a huge gap between me and the older kids. So they had enjoyed all the Kingsway, I felt like I used to do photo shoots for them. But when it came to my turn, like I came during recession, and it was like there was even this cold war. Like, why did she even come with my siblings? So I hope they won't get to hear this. But that's exactly how I feel. So, so I came, like I said, recession, and I came when they were always managing things. I was managing things. So I grew up with that consciousness, sort of. Now when it comes to me, they're managing things. So when the older ones went to private school, I went to public school. So, but funny enough, I grew up and I enjoyed the school I attended, my primary school.
When I did my pedigree, I didn't even let people know I was SS. Apart from my cousin who knew, I was staying with her. People didn't know until just a very few knew, because you don't want people looking at you as a weakling. That's actually what happens. Your eye says, sit down one place. You say you get power. Sure, come on. What makes you feel the person doesn't have power? So I had to get to the point where, I'm sure if you ask many people about me, they will say she was a bit rude. Yes, I came out rude because I had to be on the defensive. You don't talk me down. So to help my self-esteem, so that you do not destroy me and make me get to the point where I am going to get depressed, I had to come back, bouncing back, rude. I give it to you very harsh. And they were like, I can remember one day I was in school and a friend also was SS. She had crisis, was in the 9th. They called me, I went to meet her. Got her to the health center for her to take an injection. I was with her. As we were walking, a lady walked up to her. You will not hear word. Every time, awoko, reading at midnight. It's not me they spoke to, but it felt like me because for me, you are SS, we are the same. I just faced her. What do you mean by that? What is it? What makes you different from her? Because your genotype is AA or AS. So you think you are important. Don't you ever in your life mention such a thing to her. If you can read at midnight, we can read at midnight. You know, it took extra energy to always pass the message to people because there's no way I'm going to tell somebody very calmly, no, don't call me that. So, in short, it will not enter. You have to force the word in. It was always with force, and the nice me faded. It just faded. I had this ready to fight attitude, and then a mind your business owner. I just keep to myself, sort of, and just because I don't want insults.
From financial challenges to being body shamed, these adults have shared how they felt growing up under such circumstances. Did any of the stories resonate with you? Someone else has been through the same experience that you are going through now. Next on BYL.
Growing up was kind of hard, let's put that. Because if I should say, changing school one, family problems, my mom and my dad, different things, which I should not say outside. I would say it was hard.
Like my mom, sometimes she doesn't understand me. Like she doesn't allow me to like talk. Like if I say something, she will not allow me to finish it. She just start attacking me.